Off the Grid is a very nice art design level made by Troz. I think I'm pronouncing that right. This is their first serious project to my knowledge, and considering that, I think it's like pretty neat. It has a really nice atmosphere and theme all around. I'm going to go through this level part by part. Starting off, this part really sets the tone for the rest of the level. With both the level name and the background, it's immediately obvious what the theme of the level is. It's just about being off the grid. One thing that could have made this part better is the use of parallax in the background. Right now, the background looks like really static, and it moving slowly could really help the atmosphere. I do like the attention to detail with the background flickering lights, although it would be cool to see the cards moving a bit instead of just flickering. That's merely a nitpick though, and the background is great otherwise. Here the block designs are simple yet effective with movements to make them more dynamic. And I like the parallax vines, and how at first glance it looked like really detailed, but when you look at them closer, it's just the default flower block. Using default blocks to replicate more complex things is one of my favorite things, and here it is used very well. One flaw about this part is like the general lack of air decoration or anything to take up space. I understand limiting yourself on air deco to make room for the background, but since there's basically no air deco besides some arrows now and then, it's extremely noticeable. I suggest adding more arrows and background structures, which can be shown here, since both help fill up space while keeping the background visible. The second part is, in my opinion, the best part of the level. The parallax background and foreground objects look amazing. The gradient sky works really well with the sort of fire-esque effect in the background that makes this part look more dynamic. The block designs are really nice and detailed, although the movements are a little awkward and a bit hard to sight read. The ground spikes also look a bit boring. I'd suggest making them resemble hills. That would definitely improve the atmosphere and theming. And once again, this part suffers from a lack of air deco or anything that takes space, and like I said before, some background structures or arrows could really liven this part a bit more. Also, another thing to note is that off the grid means to not depend on electricity or other public utilities, and this part is themed around power lines, and I cannot tell if that adds to the theme or subtracts to it. To be honest, the third part is the worst part. The futuristic style really comes into conflict with the rest of the parts, which are very grounded and realistic. The way the buildings look and are shaded does not look good and seems very under-detailed, and the clouds don't resemble real-life clouds at all and are too glowy and fuzzy for my taste. The block designs are neat and detailed though, and the movements are easier to sight read than the last part. It's still empty, and I wish those low-opacity transparent 2.1 block blobs could have been explored a bit more, and there's nothing in the foreground at all, which makes it lack a bit of depth. The last part is nice, but it's very similar to the first part in terms of the background. I wish the background could have had parallax similar to the first part, and it could have been a bit more flashy, also like the first part. This part almost fixes the emptiness problem with more arrows, but it doesn't have gears or anything similar, which somewhat offset the emptiness in the other parts. The use of colors and hue in this part is amazing though, and the glow sparks at the very edge really liven it a lot. I would overall say that the gameplay was pretty fun. It was a bit hard to sight read with the movements and transitions at times, like in the second and third part, but it was fun and lively all throughout. Overall, I'd give this level an 8 out of 10, which means I would definitely rate it and maybe even feature it. Your backgrounds and use of colors are genuinely amazing, and your block designs are detailed and fit well with their parts. But this level is noticeably empty, and adding air deco or more structures would make this level a lot better. You have an immense amount of potential, and I can't wait to see what you're gonna make next.